A lot of people who still want to put that asterisk on the 2020 year. What do you say to those folks?
100% more difficult. First of all, you're playing in the summer. How many guys actually want to be playing in the summer? So you're asking guys to do something that is not normal for them, right?
Right.
No energy, no fans, more teams involved in the playoffs. If anything, it was more difficult to win in that environment. Was there no travel? Sure, there was no travel.
But everyone's same footing, you know. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't like
right.
One team
But it created, so no teams are traveling, so you get more rest. You'd be able to recover better than you would, which means your opponent.
You're getting everyone's best.
Yeah, your opponent's doing that too.
Bolts Nation, welcome into another episode of the Bolts Block Party, powered by our awesome friends at High Lie IPA, Wolfie and Kobe. And we've got another first-timer here on the set, Brian Boucher. Bouch is here with us, an amazing broadcaster for TNT, but he's got a long lineage in the Philadelphia world, which obviously ties back to Braydon, Coburn. There's always Bouch. There's always a 6 degrees of separation with anybody that gets on the couch with Braydon Coburn. This dude's lineage in the hockey world is insane. And of course, I believe there's a lineage here too. Weren't you guys neighbors at some point?
Yeah, Boucher lived across the street from me. And I think...
Never fails.
Yeah, I lived there for, I don't know, maybe like 8 months, and then I had to get the hell out of there, or I guess I got traded. But good neighbor, you know, came over and took care of my wife when I wasn't there. Oh, no,
Took care of your wife? What?
I'm just kidding. We had a chance to play together twice, actually, two different times. Really, really not surprised that you've gotten into where you are. I thought it was either like stand-up comedy or broadcasting, so it's been great.
Was he a joker in the locker room?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, is that your MO?
Yeah, I mean,
quick humor.
I like a joke, an odd joke here and there. I like impersonations and whatnot. Usually impersonate the coaches, that type of stuff. Keep the boys loose.
Of course.
Gotten away from that right now. I don't want to do that publicly. That's more for private consumption, you know.
Well, let's
get in trouble with that
stuff. It's
stuff.
under the vein of like the Family Guy vein, you know, the Family Guy vein.
He's in the same
Rhode Island.
I got
Peter Griffin. Here.
Yeah, I got a warped sense of humor.
Well, we love that. So let's we're going to delve a little into the backstory, because obviously, you know, maybe our Bolts Nation are not too familiar with how Bouch got to the broadcast booth. But you played 13 seasons in the National Hockey League with Philadelphia 3 times, by the way, 3 stints with the same team. I'd love to get into that. Played for Phoenix, Calgary, Chicago, the Blue Jackets, San Jose, Carolina. Something that I thought was absolutely fascinating, again, going back to the 6 degrees of separation, the Philly connection. So you served after hockey, you served as a studio analyst for the Flyers regional telecast on NBC Sports in Philadelphia. And you did some select broadcasts as well with Bill Clement and Scott Hartnell when Keith Jones wasn't available. But then fast forward to 2023, you are now replacing Keith Jones and joining TNT, and then you rejoin with Kenny Albert and Eddie Olczyk as the new lead ice level analyst, replacing Keith Jones, who then goes on to become the president of hockey operations for the Philadelphia Flyers. That is absolutely remarkable, like your ties to the Philly market. But how does one get 3 stints with the same organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. Technically, it's 4.
Oh, wow.
Because the 4th time I was there, it was one of the times I was there was just minors. I actually signed a minor league deal. My career was on the skids, and I begged Paul Holmgren to give me a minor league deal for $100,000. And he said, sure. He gave me, and I got to play for Craig Berube, who was my head coach for the Phantoms. And that actually saved my career. It got me another 5 or 6 years. I went down to the Phantoms in Philadelphia, played 47 games, I think, till trade deadline, and then I signed with San Jose. So technically, I was with the Flyers organization again, although I did not play a single game. And I think that was the first year that you were there, I believe.
But the Phantoms at that time, it was the minor league team and the big team were in the same building. So if you got called up, you basically just walked across the hallway into the Flyers room, or if you really screwed up, you walked into the minor league side.
Right.
But so that stuff, you had that relationship with Homer, Holmgren, the general manager at that time. Is that your agent calling him up, or do you have a relationship with him at that time where you're like, hey, I got Homer's phone number, I'm just going to call him up myself?
So it's funny. I that summer I'd felt like I was with my agent that since I was drafted, a gentleman by the name of Tom Laidlaw, former NHL defenseman. Great guy, a friend of this day. But I decided that summer to break up with Tom and go a different direction and get a new agent. So I went with Bob Murray, a gentleman out of Boston. And I talked to Bob, and Bob encouraged me. He said, look, you have a personal relationship with Paul Holmgren. Why don't you reach out to him? Your conversation with him will go a lot further than my conversation with him. So I got the courage up, and I called, because Paul Holmgren, if you don't know him, is a very intimidating man. Like, he looks like he'd, he could knock you out still, if he wanted to. I mean,
arms like hanging right by his shins. God. He's like,
he looks at you and you're just like, you wither away. But so I called him, and he was like, sure. Wow. I explained my situation. I said, I do not want an NHL contract. I said, I just want to play in the minors, because I had been a backup now for 2-3 years, went through a lockout. I had no confidence. I said, I feel like I just need to play hockey again. I can't go somewhere and play 15 games and play once every 3 weeks. I can't do it right now. So he said, yeah, we have no prospects. He said, come in. He goes, you can play as much as you want. And I played with Craig Berube when I played for the Flyers. And Chief was like, whatever you need. He's like, you tell me when you don't want to play. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is amazing. And I played, got my confidence back, and the Flyers were up against it as far as NHL contracts at that point. They couldn't sign me. I asked them, I said, is there a chance to sign here? And they said, we got 50 contracts. So I said, are you okay if I go sign with San Jose? Because I am technically an NHL free agent. And they signed off on it, which was great of them, which is another reason why, like, I know the Flyers get a bad rap around some circles, and they think, oh, this and that. But they took care of me, and it was personal. They knew that I wanted to get back to the NHL. They allowed me to play. I got back, and then I played a year and a bit in San Jose, and then I signed with the Flyers again. This time an NHL one-way contract, so worked out.
That does not happen.
A big part of our team. Like I know we had like some a little bit of goaltending carousel with injuries and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's a team that ended up.
That was a crazy year.
Yeah, we went to Stanley Cup Finals,
which. Remarkable for you to be a part of that.
I got you mentioned Homer, and I just how intimidating it was. Yeah. And I was there, and I was a young guy, and he's the general manager. And this is one of my favorite Paul Holmgren stories. We had the shower room, had the hot tubs and the sauna and the steamer, right? So after practice one day, I go down there and shower up. Okay, I'm going to take a steamer. Go, open the door to the steamer. It's just steam everywhere. Can't see. I think somebody's in there, whatever. Sit down, kind of sitting there, and all of a sudden the steam kind of subsides a little bit. It's Homer in the steamer with me. And he's just looking at me. He's got his stat pack, because he always brought a stat pack and stuff in there. Kobe, what's going on? This is like, I'm like sitting there naked in the sauna with the general manager being like, oh my God, this is just so awkward.
A funny story about Homer too, with speaking of showers and steamers, my agent had been calling him about, what agents do about more playing time, this, that, or the other thing. And I was playing poorly, and I played against Atlanta, and we lost in overtime. And I'm in the shower, I'm showering, and Homer comes in the shower. He goes, you get the F out here. I was like, oh man, soap coming down my face. And he goes, if your agent ever calls me again with the way that you play, I'm sick and tired. He just ripped into me, and he goes, you got it? I was like, I got it. And I went back into the shower, and the guys that were in there were like, oh my God. I drove home. I was like, oh my God, I thought I was going to lose my life there. But yeah, he was, most pro athletes wouldn't be intimidated by a general manager like that. But yeah. He had power, and he looked like he
would rip your head off.
Yeah, no bad time for a meeting either. Catch you at your most vulnerable time.
He knew what he was doing, man. You still hold the NHL's modern record for the longest shutout streak at 332 minutes and 1 second, while you were a member of the Coyotes during the 2003-2004 season.
You believe that?
That is still a record that I don't even think it holds. Like, what is your mindset? Like, when you're like going back to that, if you can think back to that, when you're in a groove like that, what does it feel like mentally? Is it focus? Is it confidence? Or is it something else completely?
Yeah, it's all that. It's and there's luck involved too. Honestly, there was some post hit, some plays that just missed the net that other times they end up in the back of the net,
Sure.
and you don't even think anything of it. It was a really odd time. I mean, leading up to that moment, I was actually the third string goalie for Phoenix for over a month. I wasn't even practicing with the team. They kind of exiled me away, and it was a real frustrating time. And not until an injury to Zach Burke, who's a former Lightning goalie, he got injured in a game in Anaheim, did that only get me back into the mix. And now I finally could practice with the team again. And it was odd because I thought I didn't know how long it would last, that situation where I was the third guy. And I didn't really know why I was, not allowed to practice with the team. It was just a real odd time, a frustrating time. But my assistant coaches were great with me. Guys like Patty Conacher and Rick Bowness. These guys, they kept my head straight and kept me positive and told me to hang in there, that your opportunity will come, and it did come. And when it did, I never imagined it would turn out the way it did, where you just go lights out like that. But it was and our team wasn't very good. It was just the weirdest situation you couldn't imagine. And it wasn't because I played necessarily like amazingly good. I mean, I made some saves, but the commitment by the team in front of me to block shots, stay out of the box, in a time of year when it doesn't happen. It was like December, January. We even had a rookie dinner during that streak.
Wow.
Which should make it like dog years. It should be like 8 games, because you know how the rookie dinners go, Kobe. God. I mean, you didn't drink because you were such a good boy, but a lot of us do. We drink quite a bit in those situations, and you don't feel great the next day or two. But we found a way to get another shutout in that streak.
The ultimate playing ultimately guilty. The whole team, right? Everyone's guilty. But what about the guys? They must have been. Hey, maybe you were feeling it. The record's the minutes are piling up. The record's extending. But I'm thinking about it. If I was one of your defensemen, man, I would be
scared.
I'd be crapping bricks because I'd be like, man,
you don't want to be the one to give it up.
If
right?
I give a pizza up the middle here, everything's going off the glass and out, and that must have been tough on those guys too, just because they're part of it too. The whole team.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they were a huge part of it, and you're right. I think everybody was nervous. Right. I mean, it felt like for them it was like playing in a Stanley Cup Final, Game 7. Some people want the puck in that situation. A lot of people don't want the puck. They're like, I just don't want to make a mistake here. I think a lot of guys felt that way. And when it ended, I know a lot of guys came up to me. They're like, thank God that's over. Now I can go back to being an idiot, and taking stupid penalties and, throwing some backhand sauce up the middle that gets picked off. And let me tell you, it turned fast. After that streak ended, you talk about, you ever want to see something where the wheels fall off? Oh, it fell off. I mean, we were atrocious after that.
Well, at least was your claim to fame, right? It was fun. It was an amazing
what's the coach
accomplishment.
say? You just got to come in and be like, all right, guys, pretend like we're still in the streak, that's the
that's the pump, man. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty remarkable career. I mean, 13 seasons is pretty awesome. I mean, which did you feel out of all of those? Obviously, the Phoenix run with the shutouts, but in all of them, and again, having multiple stints with Philly, did you feel that you had your best years in Philly?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, didn't make the playoffs in Phoenix. Cup of coffee in Calgary, Chicago cup of coffee, Columbus. I mean, it doesn't even count. Carolina didn't make the playoffs. San Jose and Philly were the two places. I was on a San Jose team that won the President's Trophy. The 2 playoffs I was there, I mean, our team was good enough to win. It's too bad we didn't. They were very good teams, but Philly was it for me. I mean, my rookie year in 99, 2000, we went to the conference finals. We blew a 3-1 series lead in the conference finals to the Devils, who eventually won the cup against Dallas. That was tough. And when you're a rookie, you think, oh, that was easy. We'll be back here again. And I really struggled after that because I think I put way too much pressure on myself because I had such a good rookie year that I felt like I needed to be extraordinary, the next year. And I really didn't do a very good job of handling the success and the pressures of expectations and whatnot. So learn from it. But then I got back to Philadelphia in 09-10 playing with Kobe. We had a very good team. Going in, I think the expectations were high for our group. I mean, we had Chris Pronger that came in and, they already had a cast of guys that were already there that were the team was ascending. And we struggled mightily. I mean, Ray Emery was supposed to be the starting goalie there that year, but he had a hip injury that forced the Flyers to get into a big goaltending situation where we used a lot of goalies.
We
but
set 7 goalies that season.
yeah,
Good Lord.
But in the end, we ended up going to the final, which is probably, if you probably looked at the start of the year, it was appropriate. But the way we did it was
Unconventional,
we made the playoffs in a shootout in the last game of the season. Boucher in net here. You know, we get Jokinen, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Boucher makes the big stop, and you make the stop. I think Danny Briere or Claude Giroux maybe scored. I can't remember
Both,
but
GN, Danny
they both scored, right?
Yeah,
and then Boucher makes the game-winning stop in the shootout, and then your celebration, your little pump thing you did. It was one of the things I'll always remember. I'll remember a lot of things about Boucher, but that was one thing that.
So
was
you know
really
the
cool.
reason behind that celebration?
No.
So we played the Rangers back-to-back games, 81 and 82, game 81-82, and all we needed to do was win one game to get into the playoffs.
Okay.
And it came, game 81, I got pulled for the extra attacker, and the Rangers win the game, I think, 4-3. And at the end of the game, Lundqvist does a celebration where he gives like his blocker, he gives like a fist pump. And I remember sitting on the bench, and I'm like, that son of a... I'm like, I was so pissed. I was like watching him celebrate. It's bad enough he's like the best looking guy in the whole world. Right. He drives an unbelievable car. He plays guitar. He's an unbelievable goalie. Like, enough already,
Right.
And no fist bumps,
right? The Rangers win.
We want humble pie.
And I remember going on the train back to Philadelphia. I was like, if we win Game 82, I'm doing his celebration for the victory, because I was so pissed watching him do that.
Yeah.
And it came down to the shootout, and he's like the best shootout goaltender ever. Mm-hmm. This guy does shootouts in warm up. Like, what goalie does that?
Right.
And I needed a diaper before that OT. I knew they were playing for a shootout. So think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe fans, that win puts either the Rangers or the Flyers into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I was nervous as heck, and we got it done. And now my broadcast partner, Kenny Albert, at the time, because the Rangers lost, he got to go on vacation with his family, which I think they never went on vacation before. So I thought I played a nice role in solidifying their family by being able to go on vacation, and sent us to the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It probably would have ripped his family apart, if he didn't take that vacation.
So, listen, you're welcome, the Albert family, and whatever I can do to help you guys out. But what a great moment. It might be one of the best moments of my career, being able to be a part of something like that.
Well, how about Jody Shelley was playing, also broadcaster now.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing a great job. I think he had 4 goals that year, and he scored 3 of them in the last 2 games.
No, he scored 2. He should have had 3. I put the puck on his tape, empty net goal, and I dove across and stopped him. It would have been 3, but he did score a goal in each game, and then he signed a 3-year contract with the Flyers the next year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he owes me 10% of that contract.
He's cashing checks all over the place.
It's remarkable to me that you guys remember these key details. And you play so much hockey in your career, but these little moments have defined your career, but you remember them.
Yeah, remember that. And then I remember, I don't know if it was just confidence, but Boucher was, sometimes it's the team, and sometimes one goaltender outduels another goaltender. And then the next round we played the Devils,
Jersey,
and he outdueled Broder, and it was unbelievable. It was like, if you weighed them, Brian Boucher was
no chance. Yeah,
he had the better series, and they might have been the better team, but
right.
Boucher put us over the top in that first series.
Momentum is real at that point. I think the way we got in, and you start the series on the road, because we ended up being the 7th seed, even though we got in the last day. It was weird. We ended up being the 7th seed. We win game 1 in Jersey, and it's like you felt like something special was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was weird. Really weird.
Guys were doing stuff like that.
And Ian Laperia blocked a shot with his face.
I was standing right in front of you, and I think it was Martin. He pump faked and then moved around, and he kind of he went down to block it, and then he started going across, and he dove across with his face, and the puck hits him in the mouth. And I remember looking at Lappy, and it was like the movie Alien. His mouth was opening this way. It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And he came back.
Yeah. That's insane.
It was just a level of dedication.
Yeah.
It was the playoffs, and that's just the kind of guy he was.
And it was completely unnecessary. It was a blue line slapper. I totally would have had it.
You tell him that now.
I probably would have tipped into my own net. That's what I was thinking.
I said, don't worry, Lappy. You didn't have a modeling career post hockey anyway. So,
Boosh, transitioning
Confirmed.
transitioning from the crease to the broadcast booth for you. what was the biggest learning curve when you started calling games, and did any habits from your goalie days kind of carry over?
The learning curve. I think the toughest thing when you're doing games, I mean, you just feel bad as an analyst is if you talk too much. Like, I think you don't want to step on the play-by-play guy's call. So I think just trying to get your thoughts out quickly and concisely, so that you don't drag on too long. I think that's one thing that probably it's still a work in progress for me. Sometimes you find yourself not being able to get it out quick enough, and you hate to miss a big moment for the play-by-play guy because it's their call, right? I think that's something. I think I always tend to look at the game from a goaltender's view on out. I know some people who are offensive players probably see things from the offensive side. I tend to look at it from the goalie perspective, and I don't want to use it as that's all I think about. But when I see a goal go in, first thing I'm thinking about is the goalie. Because everybody tends to think it's the goalie's fault, right? Whereas I tend to see, maybe you don't see that there was traffic, or you didn't notice the turnover prior to that, and it's not that I want to make excuses for the goalies, but there are times when it's not the goalie's fault, and point out maybe where something, what maybe what the viewer's not seeing from the goalie's point of view, and doesn't give him a pass. You're just explaining why something happened, and it doesn't mean it makes the goalie good. I mean, it happens.
But like the worst thing you can do is there's a goal goes in and you're still talking, right? Like that's kind of in a broadcast. That's kind of the
and it's a bad feeling because what if it's the only goal in the game? You don't want to be the one that's
blabbing on about pad size,
and sometimes during the regular season, there's games that the consequences in the games are not that great, right? It's 82 games in a regular season. There's a lot of games, so sometimes we get off the rails in our broadcast, and we tend to have a little bit of fun, maybe some inside jokes or whatnot, and we get a little loose, but when it gets to playoff hockey, obviously tighten things up. The games mean a lot more. Right. It's about what's happening on the ice. It's not so much about trying to be entertaining in the booth or entertaining ourselves. I think sometimes we're entertaining ourselves and we get carried away, but gotta have fun.
It's a game
too.
within the game.
Yeah, of course. There always is.
I get a lot of questions, and it was such a crazy time, and we've talked ad nauseum about it, but the players people want to know what the bubble was like, and I saw you there. You were there as a broadcaster. You're in the bubble as well. Yeah. I just wondered if you could kind of elaborate on like that experience from your experience, like being a broadcaster, because you're in there. Like you're not like we had all our guys. We're together. We're kind of like it was a team, and you're kind of stuck in there as a broadcaster.
Okay, it was the greatest 72 days of my life.
Really?
Honestly. I loved every minute of it. Like when I heard guys complaining about this is terrible, I didn't look at it that way at all. Like I love hockey. I love watching hockey. I love talking about hockey. I love being around hockey. It was the greatest youth hockey tournament you've ever been to.
It was complete immersion, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
because every night all you're doing is there's 2 games on. You're going to watch those 2 games regardless of what's going on.
We did 3 games a day.
Right.
Like we did 3 games a day. And I think the first game was your guys' game that went into 8 periods. And they had to cancel a game because the timing. So that got the thing started off, maybe on the wrong foot. But it was like, whoa, we don't need a 5 overtime game here. Like we could probably wrap this thing up a little sooner than that, fellas.
We hoped.
But honestly, 3 games a day. Wake up, do the games, eat, drink, sleep, go back the next day, do it all over again. I had a blast. I thought it was the greatest time ever. I mean. Certainly, I missed my family. Like I get that, and I'm sure they would be upset by me saying this, but it's my job. Passion, it's my life. It's my passion. I love it. It was amazing to see the players, the effort that was given inside the bubble with no fans around. Just goes to show how much passion and love guys have to play a game and compete.
And was it tough for you too? Because I know the players, you don't feel that energy, the same energy.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as a broadcaster, you have to rely on that energy from the fans as well, right?
Yeah. For sure. That was a little bit different. It took some getting used to, but honestly, the way you guys brought it every single game, you guys deserve all the credit. I mean, I think the first game we did was a Rangers Hurricanes game. Yeah, it was Rangers Hurricanes, and first or second shift, there was like 2 fights. It was a huge hit and then 2 fights. And I was like taken aback because the exhibition games they played prior was like everybody was going through the motions. I was like, whoa, it's going to be a long run here. That Hurricanes Ranger game, all of a sudden, boom, big hit, fights. I was like, whoa. I was like, these guys mean it. And it wasn't fake. You know, the way you guys brought it, I mean, made it easy for us.
Right.
Yeah, the crowd was missing and you hated having that. But all credit goes to the players. It goes to show how much. And I don't know. I didn't watch the NBA bubble, so I don't know how theirs was.
Sure.
But ours was amazing with the way that the effort that was put forth.
So you were immersed in it just like the players, and I would love to get your perspective on the naysayers who want to put an asterisk on 2020 to say that, oh, well, the Lightning won it in the COVID. It's a COVID Cup year. I'm like, well, all teams had the same opportunity. We just got it done. And I think in some aspects, it was more difficult for these players to achieve that accomplishment, being away from family, being away from your hometown, being away from your routine. There's a lot of people who still want to put that asterisk on the 2020 year. What do you say to those folks?
100% more difficult. First of all, you're playing in the summer. How many guys actually want to be playing in the summer? So you're asking guys to do something that is not normal for them, right?
Right.
No energy, no fans, more teams involved in the playoffs, right? So there could have been, I believe there was an upset in the West, was there not? That a team that was I think
like a wild card,
Edmonton. There was a team that got in that shouldn't. They would not have been there. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a little bit longer of a road. If anything, it was more difficult to win in that environment. Was there no travel? Sure, there was no travel, but the other side of it, the monotony of it, and being cooped up.
But everyone's same footing, you know. Like, it wasn't like one team
but it created so no teams are traveling, so you get more rest. You'll be able to recover better than you would, which means your opponent.
You're getting everyone's best.
Yeah, your opponent's doing that too. So yeah.
Okay.
So you mentioned family, and you know, I wanted to bring up your son. You know, first round pick.
Yeah.
Ottawa Senators. Not a goalie, power forward. Did you ever have that talk with him when he was growing up? Like, hey, son, like maybe goaltending. You know, I know how hard this is. You love the game. Let's try forward. Is that something you had with him?
He wanted to be a goalie right away, and my wife just asked me because I think she had lived it in my career, and I was mostly a backup for most of my career, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and she just said, "Please, I'm just asking you. I don't mind that he plays hockey, but just please don't let him be a goalie." She's like, I can't do it again.
Right.
So I assured her that he would not be a goalie, but he was pressing for the longest time when he was younger, and until I got him a goalie mask from Bauer. And once I got him the goalie mask, it stopped. He just wanted the goalie mask. I think all young kids, kids, they just want the gear.
Yep.
You know, that's what kind of gets them excited about it. Yeah, so that dropped pretty quickly, and you know, it's probably best that he's not a goalie because now I you know, if I was a goalie, I probably would have a lot more
criticism.
Not criticism, but like yeah, I guess maybe criticism is the word. Yeah, a lot more to say.
Son, yeah.
Now I can honestly say that I don't know what it's like to be a forward. I don't know what it's like to be a defenseman. I can only give my experiences of where I fit in on a team. Mm-hmm. But as far as the nuances of being, I mean, I try to help him with, you know, what I think goalies are thinking in certain situations and how you can maybe expose a goalie in a certain way. That I can give him, but I don't know what it's like to give a hit, take a hit, anything like that, because I just played a different position, which is probably good for our relationship.
Do you ever feel like he's coming up? He's you know, he's going to be in Ottawa. He's going to be an NHLer soon. But do you ever feel the urge? You know, because you know someone in the league. You know, there's guys that are running teams that you played with, you were teammates with, buddies, I'm sure. But so you're not like a normal parent of a prospect and an NHL player. Do you ever feel the urge to, like, you know, call up the coach or the GM or the president and be like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? Like, I know some parents, you know, that's just usually junior, pro, you know, the parents they're in the back seat and they're just support role, but you kind of have a little bit of a different circumstance.
Yeah. I think that the idea that when you get to pro hockey that changes, I think it honestly, I think there are more parents involved in today's pro game than ever. Like when I was coming up, my parents never, I mean, my dad was not involved in hockey, so it would never be a thought. But I think nowadays, just like everything else, I mean, more parents are involved for sure. Do I ever think about it? Yeah. I mean, I've thought about it, but I know that it's not the proper proper thing to do. I have to control myself. And I'm an emotional person too. So, maybe I needed to, take 90 minutes to cool off in certain situations. And I have my opinions, but at the end of the day, it's his life. It's his career. He's going to have to find a way to get to where he wants to get to. Some things are in your control and some things are out of your control. He's had a lot of injuries since being drafted, which is really unfortunate, and I certainly feel for him in that regard. But in that adversity, you got to find a way to battle through it. And I think he's learning some hard, tough life lessons that hopefully he can get on the other side of it, and will make him a better person and hopefully a better hockey player. And hopefully one day he is playing in the NHL and contributing and competing for a Stanley Cup. That would make me.
Calling his game. Like,
yeah, and I feel like you're the perfect person for him to lean on too, because there was no silver spoon for Brian Boucher. You were the definition of perseverance in your career of hey, I'm not down. I'm just getting back up.
Yeah, but the thing that you got to realize is, you're gonna have down days. Through all of that, when I look back on it, I remember only the good times. But there was a lot of down days. There was a lot of days where you're upset, and a lot of days you doubt yourself. But you're right. I mean, you got to find a way to just dig in and put one foot in front of the other, knowing that it's going to be okay eventually. And that's what I try to tell them. But these young kids, I think they have so much more to deal with than we ever did, because when I was coming up in Philadelphia, if I didn't want to listen to sports radio, I didn't turn on sports radio. If I didn't want to read the newspapers, I didn't read the newspapers. Right. But now everybody's got a phone. Right. Everybody knows.
It's in your pocket.
Yeah, and so it's all these young kids coming up. I mean, they have to deal with all of it, and it's a different ball game that they have to deal with. And hopefully, like I said, it's just, I think you got to try and insulate yourself. You got to try and fall in love with the process. And you were good at this, Kobe. You were a guy that was so work oriented. You were in such great shape, and your process, you were dialed in at all times. I think players have to. That's how they get good. Fall in love with the process of getting better. One day getting 1% better, whatever it takes. You're going to have bad days, but eventually by the end of the year, if you see you've made progress, that's all you should worry about. You shouldn't worry about being famous. You shouldn't worry about being the highest paid player. You shouldn't worry about the accolades. The guys that worry about being the best and trying to be their best, those are the ones that do the best.
That's great advice, man. So you, Bouch, have had a front row seat. I mean, we're talking about evolution and growing. You've had a front row seat to the evolution of goaltending. So, is there a specific maybe trend or change in today's NHL goalie style that you wish had existed when you were playing?
Well, I think the equipment plays a big part of it. Just the way the guys can play on their knees now, and the way the pads are made, it allows them to. The way the skates are designed, they've mastered using their edges and playing down low, which is so critical, because I think teams funnel pucks to the net and there's little redirects and you're just always in position. You're just putting the odds in your favor when you play on your knees, I think, oftentimes. And there's times where the shooters are figuring out to shoot upstairs, but because the gear is designed a certain way, it allows the guys to play on their knees, so they've changed their style. So a lot of post integration where they're, from sharp angles, they're in a reverse VH and protecting, the 5 hole. So, and with that, the guys have to evolve too. They've got to be more flexible in certain areas where we stood up. Now their hips and ankles and have to be much more flexible than we ever had it. But I think, I think the advances in the goalie equipment have allowed the goalies to change their styles to play a certain way, which I think makes the goalies tougher to beat. Now, I think lately it seems like the shooters have found a way to expose them, but I just think overall the players are so much more skilled now today. They make plays off the rush. They go east-west a lot more than when I played, which makes it difficult for the goalies. But I think the goalies are still trying to figure ways to beat that. But that's more of a team thing, I think, to how you defend to make sure that those east-west plays are not there, because a goalie can only do so much in certain situations. But Yeah, I think it's the goalie gear that's allowed the goalies to play a certain style.
Sure. It's a cat and mouse game. It's always going to evolve.
100%.
It's just the way our game works, right?
And it's always great to have size, too, as a goalie. Like, you look at a guy like Vasilevsky, to be 6'3.5" and have the athleticism that he has.
Yep.
If you put a guy in there who's 6 foot trying to do what Vasilevsky's doing, he's not going to be as good because Vasi's size and the way the way his body is, even though he's on his knees, he's able to stay upright because he's got good core, good hips,
wide shoulders,
super wide shoulders.
Yeah, and it's just the guy's a freak. I mean, let's face it. I mean, to have that size and ability, that's why he's one of the greatest.
Heard that, Boucher. All right, listen, before we wrap up the block party here, we do a segment called The Hat Trick, powered by our friends at Highlight IPA. And so Kobe and I have 100 AI-generated questions, right? So these questions are aimed to spark deep insights.
Wait, we're going to do 100 questions?
No, we're going to let you choose 3. It's called The Hat Trick. No, you choose
3 numbers.
3 numbers,
okay.
1 through 100.
Yeah, Bruce is like interview over.
He's like, no, not 100 questions. We have 100
Kenny
questions
Albert
available.
is coming in with a steak knife right now.
3 numbers that mean something to you,
okay.
1 through 100.
Okay. All right, let's go with 5. Braydon Coburn's old number in Philly. Were you 5 here in Tampa?
55 here.
He was
5 in Philly. I don't worry about Tampa. I worry about Philly.
What else you got?
4 stints. 4 stints.
We'll go 16.
Okay.
Which is my son's birthday.
Okay.
Oh man, now I left my daughter out. And I'll go. I won't go my number. I'll go 27. My daughter's birthday.
All right. So here we go, Cobes. 5, 16, 27. How do you do? Or I mean, because now you are a member of the media. This is a great one. How did you handle criticism from the media?
How did you handle criticism from Tim Panaccio?
How did you handle it back in the day? Now you're a media guy, so I'm curious. Like,
I mean, I will admit, there were times I was sensitive. Like early on in my career, like if I was sensitive to it because I think everybody wants to please people, right? They want to do well. But I learned that if I just stayed away, like I said earlier, insulate yourself.
Yep.
Don't read it.
Yeah.
If you don't read it, then you don't know, and it makes it easier to go do your job. But as my career went on, I also started to understand that these guys have a job to do as well, and they're human beings. And if you treat them as human beings, they will treat you the same. And so I had a good rapport with the writers in Philadelphia. I'd come in, like a guy like Panach, I'd joke around with him when I come in the locker room after practice every day. I say, Panach, what do you got stirred up today?
Yeah.
And he'd sit there and giggle, because he was stirring something up.
Right.
And so you get to know him on a human level, and I think that then you have respect for one another. But early on, I will say, I was sensitive, but you have to get past that as a player,
especially that town.
That's
what they were trying. So growing up in Rhode Island. Obviously a huge hockey fan. Since you started getting into the game, who's Brian Boucher's idol?
Patrick Waugh. He's a huge Montreal Canadiens fan. So my parents came to the United States in 1970. They were from just east of Montreal, a small town near Sherbrooke, Quebec. And so they came down in 1970. We had family that lived in Rhode Island. My mom had a cousin that was living there. And they came down, and I have a brother and sister that are Canadian, and me and my next brother were born in the States in Rhode Island, so I was American, but it's big Boston Bruin country. But I was brainwashed to be a Canadiens fan by my dad, and but where I grew up was a big French Canadian descent.
Could go either way, really.
Yeah, so it was weird. Like up until maybe a generation ago. People were bilingual. They were speaking French and English, and even my father-in-law, who was a 3 or 4 generation American, spoke fluent French. Growing up in Rhode Island. So there, people were Canadiens fans, but it is Bruins country. And it was a heck of a rivalry when I was a kid. The old Adams division, the fights and whatnot. But yeah, Patrick Waugh was my guy.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, who was the toughest opponent you ever faced? Could be a team, I guess. It could be a player. It doesn't specify, but it says the toughest opponent you've ever faced.
I know it's not probably somebody that stands out to a lot of people, but because I played against Sid and Ovi a little bit. Mm-hmm. I missed Wayne. I didn't play against him, I played a little bit against Mario Lemieux, but honestly, we played Pittsburgh a lot back in the day, and I found Alexei Kovalev to be nightmarish for me. He had a hook on his stick, like it was like an upshoot curve. He could fire the puck from distance. He could score on you. If he wanted to play, like he was a horse. Like if he decided tonight I'm going to be a difference maker, nobody could get the puck off of him. He played keep away, and I just could remember him coming up the ice and being like, "Please check him, please angle him, please check him, get the puck off his stick." So he was the one guy, and I know there's probably some other players, but for whatever reason, Alexei Kovalev was the one that I was always most nervous about when he had the puck.
Strong as a bull.
Oh
my God!
Like an
you
ox.
just wanted him to sleep, like just
exactly.
go to sleep this
and
game.
there were times he did.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, whew, thank goodness. So a funny story about Kovalev before we go. I ended up going to play in Switzerland at the end of my career. Last minute, had no thought of playing. I thought I was going to retire, and I got this offer for pretty good money to go to Switzerland. And I get there, and I hadn't trained all summer, and I told them, I said, I need all of training camp. They're like, yeah, no problem. It's like a 7-week training camp. We go play a game in the mountains, this place called Visp. It was up the Alps. And we get there, and wouldn't you know it, we get out there for warm-up. Alexei Kovalev's on the other side. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Can't get away from this guy.
I know. I was like, oh, my God.
All the places.
Yeah, this guy's going to expose me here. Like, these guys think I'm a good goalie, and this guy's going to light me up. He did not. He was on the farewell tour.
Okay.
He was,
But
did
still,
not.
He was
like-
on a ski vacation.
It was like an August. It was an August game. Like
Yeah.
he did not try it. Also, thank God. That was my last time I saw Kovalev on the ice
That's
against
funny. I
me.
can only imagine your thought, like your face. Like, are you effing kidding
Alexei,
me right
what's
now?
the
Like,
chances he'd be here in Visp in Switzerland?
Across the world. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, Boucher, thank you so much again for taking the time out here. We know you got a very busy day with TNT, and we've got the game coming up tonight, so we really do appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us here
You bet.
on the Block Party, and hopefully he will be a guest in the near future. But thank you, Bolts Nation, once again for tuning in to another episode of the Block Party, powered by our friends at Highlight IPA. We will see you next week.